Hello and welcome. I'm Johan Castell and you're watching WION Wings. Today we celebrate Kashmir's tulip garden getting recognition for being Asia's largest of its kind. An explainer on sustainable travel. A visit to a legendary local bakery in Goa. And a whirlwind tour of ecotourism being affected by climate change. Let's begin. Kashmir's famous tulip garden boasts a new accomplishment. The World Book of Records in London has recognized it as Asia's largest tulip garden, the greatest honor bestowed since its inception. The Tulip Garden, located on the banks of the Dal Lake at the base of the Subarwan Mountains, has been officially certified as the largest tulip garden in all of Asia. Now there is more reason than ever to visit the valley, as the Tulip Garden of Kashmir, situated at the foothills of the Subarwan Mountain, has finally been recognized as Asia's most extensive tulip garden. The Department of Floriculture, Gardens and Parks was awarded the certificate by the World Book of Records London chairman and CEO at a function held in Srinagar. The government of Jammu and Kashmir claims that the award is a recognition of the efforts of the Floriculture Department's gardeners, officials and casual laborers who toiled day and night to make Srinagar's tulip garden a tourist hotspot.
Tulip Garden Srinagar has been included in coveted list of London Book of Records, World Book of Records, for being Asia's largest tulip garden, which has displayed 1.6 million tulip bulbs this year of 68 different varieties. Tulip Garden was already unique selling point for the tourism of J&K. It has successfully preponed the tourist season of J&K, and this award will go a long way in promoting Tulip Garden.
The Tulip Garden in Kashmir was established in 2008. For the last 15 years, everyone associated with the garden, from gardeners to officials, has tried their best to make this garden one of the best attractions of Kashmir. This year, Asia's largest tulip garden saw more than 1.6 million tulips of 68 different varieties bloom, and nearly 400,000 people visited the garden during the one-month tulip season. It takes about 6 to 8 months every year for the Department of Floriculture to prepare the garden for opening to the general public. The tourism industry is thriving in the valley, and the number of tourists visiting Jammu and Kashmir this year is impressive compared to last year. And the best time to visit the Tulip Garden is from March to May. With recognition like this world record for things that make this area unique, tourism is only set to increase further to one of the world's most beautiful places. Now it's time to go to Goa's Fontanias neighborhood, and more precisely, the legendary 31st January bakery located in the heart of the colorful lanes of this centuries-old part of Goa. Goa is well known for its pristine beaches and active nightlife. But are you familiar with central Goa's old Latin quarters, also known as Fontanias? The neighborhood became famous when Instagrammers, influencers, photographers and tourists started sharing their stories from this vibrant corner of India.
So we are on the 31st of January Street, and this is one of the main thoroughfares in the neighborhood.
Running right through the Fontanias neighborhood is this mysteriously named 31st January Street. So where does that name come from? We did some digging, and it turns out that downtown Porto in Portugal also has a street by the same name. It goes back to an attempted revolution in 1891. Even today, roads worldwide bear this name.
there is even a bakery that is named after the same date. So we're going to go and check this out and see what it's like. Maybe we can even meet the owner. Let's check it out.
Hidden away from the main road in a narrow, colorful lane with a few spots to sit outside and only one room inside, this quaint bakery is small and simple. The heart of the bakery is the wood-fired oven at the back, and the walls are filled with newspaper clippings of different features. Gleta Mascareñas is the owner and operates this bakery.
This bakery was started in 1930 by Mr. Andre Mascareñas, and we have a family recipe book. So yes, so then, you know, whichever kids have come here, which have grown like, you know, older people now, and they say the taste is the same what we have eaten. That's because maybe a little variant here and there would be there because of the ingredients. Apart from that, the recipe remains the same and the wood fire oven. And the best part is we have a clientele which want to come again and again, apart from the tourists who come and, you know, they tell their families, and when they come to Goa, they want it, they say it's a must, you know, it's on our itinerary and we want to come here.
If you drop by this bakery during the right time of year, you might find people playing guitar and singing along. Sometimes there is quite a social get-together in this narrow lane.
So we have something known as the wine biscuits, which have gone down ages, like selling them, and we have the Swiss rolls, and we have like we make like most of the puffs. For vegetarians, we have mushroom, pan rolls, and, you know, vegetable puffs. And for our most popular would be the sausage rolls. Yes, Goan pork sausage rolls. I feel everyone who's eaten like Goan especially, they love them. They are very tiny and, you know, just a bite away from your mouth.
I've had an early morning in this part of Goa and I'm starving. Time to try the goods at this iconic spot. So I try a large breakfast with beans, bacon, grilled tomatoes, sausage and eggs on toast. All I can say is that the tasty food will surely fill you up and energize you for a long day exploring the colorful lanes of old Goa.
Most of us like to make the world a better place by making choices that take sustainability in mind. The travel and tourism industry is no different. But how do we travel sustainably? What should you keep in mind to be eco-friendly while on the road? Watch our report.
Traveling sustainably involves making conscious choices that minimize your impact on the environment, support local communities, and promote responsible tourism practices. It encompasses eco-conscious practices and choosing options with low impact on the environment for transport, activities, restaurants, and souvenirs. But is the tourism industry even affecting the environment? Indiana University's Professor Amanda Cecil tells us more about the impact.
Travel and tourism have a significant impact on the environment. Today, more than 10% of the world's greenhouse gases are generated by the travel industry alone, with transport being a noteworthy source of this problem. This does not mean, however, that we should completely eliminate traveling. Travelers just now need to change their behaviors to reduce their carbon footprint and to be more intentional when planning their next adventure.
So what can you do to minimize your impact? Here are our tips to travel in a more eco-friendly and responsible manner. Choose eco-friendly transportation, public transport, cycling, or walking. Pack light to reduce fuel consumption and emissions during transport. Stay in eco-friendly accommodations that implement sustainable practices. Support local businesses, pick local restaurants, markets, and shops. Reduce plastic use, carry a reusable water bottle, mug, cloth bags, and metal straw. Conserve energy and resources, turn off electronics when not in use, and reuse towels and linens in hotels. Respect wildlife and nature. Avoid disturbing wildlife and their habitats. Stick to designated trails and leave no trace when hiking in nature. Minimize waste. Use reusable utensils, containers, and a cloth napkin. Cultural respect. Learn about local culture, customs, traditions, dress codes, and social norms before your visit. support conservation efforts, contribute to conservation projects, national parks, and wildlife sanctuaries. Choose responsible tour operators when booking tours or excursions. Even small actions can make a difference when it comes to sustainable travel. By being mindful of your choices and their impact, you can enjoy amazing travel experiences while also leaving a positive mark on the communities you visit and the world at large.
Moving on, we will show you an update for those who love to travel the world of wine as changes in climate affect vineyards worldwide.
The world is full of good food and wine, and when we travel, taking it all in is high on the bucket list for many travelers. Some of the world's most iconic wine tourism countries include Australia, California, France, Italy, and Spain. In these places, wineries are not just a tourist trap, but a central part of the country's culinary culture. This year, however, many European wine regions have been affected by heat waves and droughts. In Bordeaux, wine growers are left devastated by mildew damage to their grapes.
These are vines that have been left abandoned since last year. You can see they have not been pruned. Everything is dead. It's a real nest for mildew and golden flakes. You can see my vines right next to it, less than 4 meters from the abandoned vines. I'm surrounded by 17 hectares of abandoned land around my plots. You can clearly see the direct contamination.
The damage doesn't stop there. Vineyards across Spain's Penedès Cava producing region are so dry that even old vines are dying during the country's driest start of the year since records began in 1961.
The vine has died. We think that there are some 30-year-old vines which have very deep roots, and with this drought, the water has not reached the roots.
At this rate, the sector is facing the risk of serious losses.
The situation is dramatic in that we can lose 35% to 55% of a relatively normal harvest.
So, what are growers doing? Some are going for a harvest several weeks before they usually would, working in the early morning hours to avoid the day's heat. Due to a changing climate, there has been a decline at this Spanish winery over the last 5 to 6 years. In Italy, during the past July, one of the hottest months on record saw the country face heat waves, wildfires, torrential rain, tornadoes, and even hail, sparking concerns for local grape planting and wine-producing experts.
If you touch the leaves, you can feel, for example, a lack of moisture. The sound made by touching the leaves is a clear sign that they are suffering from drought and heat.
The changing climate might bring hardships in southern Europe, but further north it brings new opportunities. By using special grapes, winemakers in Sweden are seeing good results.
So this is Celeris. Celeris is like the national grape variety here in Sweden. At the moment, our job is take off lots of the lower leaves so air can pass through. This reduces disease.
According to Felix Åhlberg, who runs operations here, the key to Sweden's success are 3 elements: new grapes, a better climate, and talented winemakers. One visitor who loved the wines still worries about what this all means for the environment.
So I think we need to also, as consumers, choose sustainable produced wine and food in general.
While new grapes and young blood in Sweden are unlikely to dethrone the old world of wine anytime soon, it is certainly an emerging thing to explore for visitors to Scandinavia. As European countries choose new techniques to deal with climate challenges, wine producers in Chile revive old techniques to face climate change. In the country's Colchagua and Cachapoal valleys, wine growers have learned to live with less water than before, after more than a decade of drought.
Growers are returning to practices that were used before but are now systematic. Techniques include plant cover to protect from soil erosion, shorter vines that yield smaller but better grapes, compost with horse and cow dung as fertilizer, and organic waste from hotels. This region also feels the strain of a changing climate, and some wineries are relocating further south to cooler climes, such as Patagonia. It might feel alarming, but to me, the thoughts of wine tasting in a region as scenic as the mountains of Patagonia sounds like the best experience imaginable.
The world has seen disruptions to travel from destinations like Hawaii to California and India. In our following report, we bring you the latest updates. Lahaina in Hawaii was struck by a devastating wildfire that claimed more than 100 lives earlier this month. Now that the fires have been doused and the community is working together to recover from the damage done, a conflicting narrative has emerged. Should tourists be allowed to return? Some residents feel outraged by the incongruous sight of tourists enjoying Maui's tropical beaches while search and rescue teams trawl building ruins for victims of the fire.
We were out for dinner and my wife went out to use the washroom, and there was a person out there who was upset that tourists were still here and just, you know, wondering why we were still here and all of that. And
the pain is not only felt by residents and tourists. Restaurants are also seeing fewer patrons come out to eat.
This Key Hair Cafe is one of the most popular breakfast places in this town. Usually it would be like line up fun. At least 10 to 11 people, or even longer. But right now, if you look around, it's just empty. For us to surviving, we need tourism. We need to make money too.
The situation is dire in Hawaii, as the community is torn between caring for their own people and making money through tourism.
So people freaked out, I think, and we're like, we can't have people here, and I think that's how I felt too. We're like, we can't have tourists here right now. We need to feed and take care of our own people. A lot of places in Kula, Makawao, Paia, Haiku, those places are still running, and all those people still have their bills to pay, and they're single parents, and they have mortgages, and they own businesses.
It is important to remember that the fires only affected one area in Hawaii, and it might be a good time to open up tourism to allow stakeholders in areas not affected by the fire to make money again.
There's no one here. Our resort is empty. So if the goal was for the resorts to just, you know, open up their rooms for all the people that lost their homes, that's not happening. So what's the point of keeping tourists out? Maybe keep them out of the key sensitive areas. That makes a lot of sense, of course, right? But, you know, there's no reason to do damage upon damage to the state and the people that live here.
Hawaii is not the only U.S. state dealing with an emergency. California recently declared a state of emergency due to Tropical Storm Hillary that made landfall earlier this week. Last Sunday, more than 4,000 flights were delayed or cancelled across the country as California braced for the storm's impact. Reportedly, Las Vegas's Harry Reid International was one of the most affected airports, where over 300 flights had been cancelled due to this historic storm. Several areas were affected by mudslides as rivers overflowed. The first tropical storm to hit Southern California in 84 years brought record-breaking downpours of more than half an average year's rain in some areas before the storm dissipated. In India's Himachal Pradesh, rains kept hammering the state this week, and the capital city Shimla is heavily affected. A government official said at least 72 people had lost their lives last week, with India's weather department putting the state on high alert.
I have appealed to the Himachal residents and the people coming from outside to travel less if possible, especially at night, as well as to stay indoors. If there is a prediction of a landslide in a residential area, the area should be evacuated. We have given out a toll-free number for the same.
The torrential rain on Wednesday disrupted travel by clogging roads with traffic and blocking roads due to fallen trees, leaving residents struggling for basic amenities. Streets along a Colombian coast town were covered in water this Tuesday after Tropical Storm Franklin made landfall in the Caribbean. Since dawn, heavy rainfall made life miserable for people at the colonial tourist hotspot of Cartagena. The storm was expected to strengthen over the following few days as the storm moved further north. Next in line for a proper hammering by Franklin was the Dominican Republic, where the tropical storm brought high tides and a strong swell on Tuesday. The government closed schools and government offices as the storm headed for the island of Hispaniola. By Wednesday, the storm bore down on the Dominican Republic, leaving streets heavily flooded in the capital city. The US-based National Hurricane Center said the storm could cause potentially life-threatening flooding. More than 300 people were moved to shelters, while 25 provinces were under a red alert and 7 under a yellow alert in the country. That's all we have for you in this week's program, but we'll return next weekend. Until then, it's me, Johan Castell, signing off. Goodbye.